I want to say right at the top that, despite what you may have heard, hunting horn is not a complicated weapon to use. It just gives the appearance of being complicated. All you have to do is understand your basic combos and use your special moves when they're ready for you. You don't have to worry at all about the musical aspect of the weapon. And if you've been afraid to use the hunting horn up to this point, after you're done watching this tutorial, you'll wonder why you didn't start using it sooner. Hunting horn has a good mix of big attacks and small rapid attacks, and almost every single thing you do with it is going to do stun damage. Most of your moves don't cover a lot of distance, but you do have lots of really cool dance-like animations, unlike any other weapon. So it feels really fluid and looks amazing. Hunting horn has a special evasion move, which allows you to attack the monster whether you have an opening or not. Playing the hunting horn is pretty simple. You buff yourself by playing notes, you power up your circle gauge, you do special moves, and repeat the process all over again. There's not a heavy reliance on switch skills, but the ones you do have can do some serious damage. And the nice thing about hunting horn is you can create a hunting horn build that makes it so you don't have to use items at all. So one more thing I want to stress right at the beginning of this video, hunting horn is not, I repeat, not a support weapon. There's no such thing as a support weapon in Monster Hunter Rise. Hunting horn never has been, nor is it currently, nor will it ever be a support weapon. If you want to play support, you may as well switch to sword and shield and get wide range on your set, or get a light bowgun with status ammo and wide range. You'll be much more effective as a support player that way. All that said, you do you. I've seen wackier things in this game. All I'm trying to say is, hunting horn isn't designed to be a support weapon, so don't fall into the trap of thinking that that is how Capcom wants you to play. You're soon going to realize that hunting horn takes the center stage for damage and versatility. And yes, if you're playing multiplayer, all your friends get the same buffs that you do. And that leads me to what's so special about hunting horns. This weapon has a special game mechanic that is unique amongst all the weapons in the game, the melodies. Every time you play a melody, you'll see these note animations appear around you. There are lots of ways to play melodies, and there are special melodies you can activate outside of the ones listed on your weapon description. The good news is you don't really have to memorize anything special outside of your combos. That is, you don't have to memorize a set of combos and a set of notes to play, like you had to do back in the olden times. The way this new hunting horn is designed, you just focus on the attack combos, and the melodies will fall into place on their own. And it's these melodies that give you the buffs. We're going to cover all your special melodies, and I'm going to show you how to activate any melodies that your horn has built into it. Normally, I'd start my tutorial video by describing the switch skills you have available at the start of the game. Hunting horn has something so very unique, aside from the melodies, in conjunction with the melodies, that I need to talk about it right up front. Hunting horn has a special damage type. This special damage type ignores hit zones. The amount of damage that you do is based on the sharpness on your weapon and your attack power. This special damage is called sonic damage. And there are several attacks that do not just regular melee damage, but also the special sonic damage. This type of damage is so ubiquitous on your weapon that it really starts to add up quickly. And the good thing about it is you can take steps to optimize your sonic damage if you're intentional about how you use it. I'm going to cover these methods as we go along. So now that you're aware of the sonic damage, let's talk about what switch skills you have right at the start of the game. Your first switch skill is called Slide Beat. This is a wirebug move that slides you through attacks. You will take damage, but the monster's attack will not interrupt this. This gives you 3 melee hits plus a sonic blast. You can follow up the Slide Beat with regular attacks or the Infernal Melody, which we're going to talk about soon. The Slide Beat will also trigger your self-improvement melody. And there's another awesome feature of Slide Beat which we'll get to a bit later when we talk about switch skill unlocks. The second switch skill you have available to you right at the beginning of the game is called Earthshaker. This move is amazing. It's one of the biggest attacks in the game. This gives you 2 big hits. The first hit lands wherever you stab the monster. The second hit typically hits the head. Now the second hit will do stun damage. There's not a whole lot more to say about this move. It's kind of a big commitment move, but you will not see anything even close to this level of damage from your other attacks. This is pretty awesome. It takes 2 wire bugs, is a big wind up, and lots of big damage at the end. This one can be interrupted, so you have to be careful when you're going to use it. Now the first hit, the damage amount is going to depend on what hit zone you attack, but the second hit is going to hit the monster's head. Somehow it just channels the damage right to the head. If you do this here back on the shell, terrible damage on the shell, but the second one is that same big hit on the head. Probably the most amazing move that Hunting Horn has right at the beginning of the game is a special evade. Now this special evade has a lot of iframes on it, and it allows you to roll through most attacks. And while you're rolling through the attacks, you're performing a self-improvement melody, you're doing damage during the roll, and it sets you up for some follow-up attacks. This special evade is called Performance, and is only active when you have the melody mode Performance selected. That's the only option you get at the beginning of the game. You're going to unlock another melody mode later. Your right trigger activates this performance maneuver. You get a really low hit. If you get positioned just right, you'll get a sonic hit, and you'll see the little notes come up. After those little notes come up, you can follow it up with another attack. This stomp is one of the biggest hits in the game, and it also does a tremor, and performance allows you to evade it entirely while doing damage. You can also evade right after the performance, and if you get some evade window on there, you can become quite invincible. How do you trigger your melodies when you're in performance mode? You don't actually need to use your right trigger to get those buffs. What you're going to do is play 2 notes in a row, or more specifically, do 2 of the same attack in a row. So you can see up at the top, my self-improvement melody is enabled, and I do get that from the trigger. That's fine. So if I want stun negated, all I do is 2 B attacks in a row. There it is. They automatically trigger the buff. You don't actually have to press the perform button to trigger it. If I want health recovery, see I've lost some health here, 2 Y attacks, and I should recover some health. There it is. Now, it's not going to turn orange or red, whatever that color is, because this one you can just keep doing over and over to get as much health back as you want. So you just keep spamming the Y button, and there's your health. Now, Divine Protection, this is the both attack buttons together, which will give you an overhead smash. Do it twice in a row, and you've just activated your Divine Protection. These will wear off after a time. See, the stun negated is already worn off, so you will have to reactivate it. There you go. Pretty simple, right? And let's get that last bit of health back. There we go. Pretty easy to do your melodies, your basic melodies in performance mode. Now, you can follow up your special evade, your perform, your right trigger, with another evade, or you can follow it up with a crushing attack. And you can just go right into another perform. You can just keep chaining this over and over. Now your follow-up attack to the perform is directional, so you can change what direction this one goes in, okay? So just push your directional stick and your attack button, and you'll change direction. 360 degrees. Very flexible. With Hunting Horn, you get a special move. It's a special melody called Infernal Melody. That circle gauge in the top left corner of your screen, the one with the hunting horn in it, is what tells you when your infernal melody is ready to play. Attacking the monster will fill the gauge a little bit. Using the performance special evade attack will charge it up quite nicely. When this gauge is filled, it'll flash and blink at you, trying to get your attention, and then it's time to play it. Now, how do you activate Infernal Melody? You can do this a couple different ways. Probably the easiest way to do it is to perform a slide beat, and then right at the end of your slide beat, you're going to press the right trigger. And the Infernal Melody does two things. First of all, it gives you 3 big hits of damage, sonic damage. The second thing it does is it boosts your attack power. Now, this does wear off after a time. You have to charge up your gauge again and then activate your Infernal Melody. It is a pretty significant boost. So the second way to activate the Infernal Melody is right after a Magnificent Trio, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. After you perform that special melody, you can press the right trigger button again, perform your Infernal Melody, and then continue on attacking. You do have to fill the circle gauge in order to activate Infernal Melody. Fill in the gauge has never been a big deal for me because the hunting horn attacks so fast that the circle is usually filled up before I even notice that it's full. So when you do perform the Infernal Melody, you will do a small melee hit if you're in position. It will be followed by 3 quick sonic hits. You'll get an attack boost above and beyond any other melody boosts you've gotten. This is a different attack boost from the one that's built into some of the horns. So a horn that has an attack up melody, that will stack with the Infernal Melody attack boost. So this move is a really good one to combine with the Earthshaker move because you can make that massive damage hit even bigger. So you can see that's a lot bigger with the Infernal Melody and with my sharpness all the way up. All right, so does Hunting Horn get a special counter? No, it does not. That's okay. You've got a lot of cool special stuff on the Hunting Horn to make up for it. You do have a special combo. This one's called Magnificent Trio, and this is the second way for you to get in to activate the Infernal Melody. This move is right on your screen. It tells you how to do it. In order to be able to do a Magnificent Trio, you have to perform each of your 3 melee attacks. So a Y attack, a B attack, and a Y plus B attack. Those are your 3 attack buttons. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. As long as you get them up there on the screen, your Magnificent Trio option will activate. And Magnificent Trio is simply right trigger and your top attack button. For Xbox, you're looking at right trigger and Y. And it does a ton of hits. It also charges up your circle gauge pretty nicely. So you can do your Magnificent Trio, get all these nice hits, follow it with Infernal Melody, and you are ready to start earth shaking. Pretty simple. Now, Magnificent Trio is kind of a big commitment, so I like to save this one for when the monster is disabled. Now, there's one more cool thing about Magnificent Trio. I don't have any melodies activated right now. I don't have any buffs activated right now. I've just queued up all 3 notes. I'm going to perform a Magnificent Trio. Let's see what happens. It does every single buff on your weapon. Amazing. If you're using performance mode and you have to come in here and do your double attacks to play your melodies, okay, that's 6 attacks just to get all your melodies. And then you have to right trigger to get your self-improvement. That's crazy. A faster way is to do 3 attacks and a Magnificent Trio, and it will activate all 4 buffs at once. So let's move on to the basics. Basic attacks and combos. There are so many of these. So just constantly spamming one button. Pretty interesting. This looks like a 3-hit combo. All right. Forward smash, left swing, multi-crush. Pretty cool. So when I push forward and spam the B button, it's a 2-hit combo, and it's a right swing. Now, let's see what happens when I push forward and spam Y and B together, both attack buttons together. Overhead, double swing, overhead, double swing. All right. So far, so good. That's a forward, pressing forward and attacking. Let's stand still and press the B button. Okay, that one doesn't change. That one's pretty simple. Let's stand still and press the Y button. That one's the same as well. So if you stand still and press Y plus B, you're going to do a backward strike. It moves you backwards. It moves you out of the way. So let's mix things up. Standing still, right swing, left swing, right swing, left swing, right swing, Y plus B. I'm not pushing forward. Notice I'm not pushing forward. Right swing, Y plus B. It does an overhead smash. It doesn't do the backward smash, okay? So left swing, Y plus B, overhead smash. Now let's do right swing, Y plus B, and then a second Y plus B, double swing. Let's do right swing, Y plus B, and then B again. We get a kick up. How do I activate the backward strike? How about we do a crush, then Y plus B. So if I push forward in B and hit Y plus B, I get a backward strike. Why didn't I get an overhead? See, if I stand still and press B and then do Y plus B, I get an overhead. If I push forward with a B, hit Y plus B, I get a backward strike. Interesting. Stand still, B, Y plus B, right swing overhead smash, forward, okay, backward strike. So pushing forward toward the monster makes things work differently. So you got to be aware of that, and you got to be careful about that. And you might think, okay, overhead smash, and then I want to do a backward swing. Nope. If you try to do a backward swing after an overhead smash, that is to say, if you do Y plus B twice in a row, you're not going to get that backward strike, okay? In order to get that backward strike, you have to press forward and B to do the crush, then the Y plus B to get the backward strike. This crush is almost like a special move. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because the backward strike is your biggest attack that you have, aside from that earth shaker. This one does the most damage. So you'll want to work it into your repertoire as often as you can. That double swing is nice, but it's nothing like the backward swing. What about your draw attacks? There's another way that hunting horn is different from every other weapon in the game, and that's the way that you go into your draw attacks. First of all, if you're on the ground, your easiest draw attack is simply right trigger. This will draw your weapon and do your performance. Pretty simple. If you're doing a jumping attack with the wire bug, you will not be able to do the right trigger attack until you hit the ground. That's not available to you in aerial mode. There's another way to do a draw attack, and this is where hunting horn is different from everybody else. For most weapons, if you stand still and you press your Y button, you're going to draw your weapon. Works the same way with hunting horn too. But for all the other weapons, if you're pushing forward and you draw your weapon, you're going to do an attack. Notice that's not happening with hunting horn. It just draws your horn. When you're running, there's no attack. So if you're coming into hunting horn from another weapon and you're expecting forward Y to do a draw attack, it's not going to happen. Why is this? Why is it so different? The reason is because hunting horn attack, whether it's Y, B, or Y plus B, plays a different note. It has different significance. Okay, so Capcom wants to give you the option to have 3 different draw attacks, one for each note. In order to cue up the Y note, you have to press Y to draw, and then press Y again real quickly, and you will do what's essentially the Y attack, but on a draw. If you want to do the B attack on a draw, push forward, draw with Y, and hit B real quick. That's going to cue up the B note and do the B attack. And then finally, both Y and B, push forward, Y, and then Y and B, overhead smash draw attack. So hunting horn, using this mechanism, has 4 different draw attacks. So you've got the performance attack, and then you've got 1 draw attack for each of your 3 different note attacks. And so what this does is it gives you the option to have different openings with your melodies. Let's say you wanted to have a heal opening. There you go. Let's say you wanted a different buff for your opener. There's your B opening. That's great. You want the self-improvement opening? Just hit the trigger. Aerial draw attacks? Yeah, you have to use those. You have to use the double button press draw attacks. So get up in the air. You're just going to fall straight down and do your jumping smash. Fine. You can do all 3 of these draw attacks in the air. Okay, so you got to, again, hit Y, then B, and there's your jumping smash with the B. It puts the B note up there. Now, as you can see, it's essentially the same attack, jumping smash, but it cues up a different note. Let's say you need to play a Y note, but you need to do a draw attack and you want to play a Y note as your next attack. Aerial, Y, Y. Now my Y note's queued up. Pretty nice. So yeah, The aerial attack is the same exact attack, but depending on which button you press after you draw your weapon, that's going to determine what note gets put up on the screen. So after your Earthshaker, let's take a look at that. This is your biggest attack right now, Earthshaker. It's huge, okay? Don't underestimate this. After that, your second biggest attack is the backward strike. You're not going to get a bigger attack than that. Pretty awesome. A single attack. Now, let's say you do your Magnificent Trio. Yeah, in total, that might do more damage than a backward strike. Or an Infernal Melody, that might do more damage than a backward strike. Or a Slide Beat in total, yes. But I'm talking about a single hit. Backward strike is where it's at. And to activate that, forward B, and then Y plus B to follow up. So a cool feature of Hunting Horn is you have a lot of high reach attacks. It's just hard to show it off here because his head is pulled so far back. There it is. Sometimes you got to be standing backwards to activate him. But you can see how high this thing reaches. And I think what this demonstrates is don't be afraid to attack facing backwards with your back to the monster, because oftentimes you're going to get your best reach that way. The first thing you unlock for Hunting Horn is a new melody mode. It's called Melody Mode Echo. And this changes how you activate your buffs quite radically. So this allows you to play a chord. That's what the game calls it. A chord of all your stored notes by hitting the right trigger. Instead of doing the special evade and doing a performance, when you hit the right trigger, now what's going to happen is you're going to activate every buff that you have a note for. It's also going to activate your self-improvement melody. So what's nice about this mode is you don't have to double your notes. You don't have to play 2 notes in a row. Just play each note once. Get it up on the screen. It's not going to activate them until you hit the right trigger. Does this really cool high attack and activates all my buffs at the same time. Pretty cool. So you can build your little combo and then perform, right trigger, and now says chord instead of performance. So it plays all 3 notes at the same time, like a chord. The other cool thing about that is, since you've queued up all 3 notes in order to do this, your Magnificent Trio is also ready. So you could perform all 3 notes either way. And then what Melody Mode Echo also allows you to do is to play these notes with your slide beat. So instead of hitting the right trigger to activate the notes, you could do Magnificent Trio to activate everything, or you could do a slide beat and now all 3 of those notes will play. Everything's activated and you're ready to go. In Melody Mode Echo, you have 3 different ways to trigger all of your buffs. Now, you don't have to queue up all 3 at the same time. You can do the Y and then play the chord and it'll activate the Y. So if you want to stand here and heal yourself, you can just keep spamming Y and right trigger to heal yourself. Heal your friends too, while doing damage. How awesome is that? Hunting Horn is all about doing these awesome damage moves while at the same time keeping people protected, buffed, whatever. In fact, you don't even really need to think about buffing your friends with Horn. You just buff yourself and continue to buff yourself by playing the weapon, and that will keep them buffed at the same time. So, Melody Mode Echo, pretty cool. You play a chord of all the stored notes by hitting the right trigger. It will activate your self-improvement. It'll do a physical slap way up high. It'll do a big sonic hit at the end. One downside to Melody Mode Echo, you will lose the special evade. This chord maneuver with the right trigger, as opposed to the performance. See, the performance is a low roll, and this one is a big high hit. You're losing the iframes on this move. There are no iframes on this move. All right, so this is not going to save your ass doing this. Now you might think, okay, well, I'd rather have the iframes. It seems like a better move. And for a lot of matchups, yeah, the performance mode is better because of those iframes. But for a lot of matchups, being able to activate your notes quickly and then also having this big high hit is actually better. And so you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. When you're in echo mode, you can activate your notes using slide beat instead of using the right trigger. So that's another bonus to echo mode. And there's another really, really nice bonus of melody mode echo, and that's when you combine it with the sonic wave melody. Some horns have a sonic wave on them, and it works really, really well with that. And I'm going to talk about that synergy in just a minute. Which melody mode is right for you? Performance gives you a low hit. It's a little bit smaller damage, but it has an amazing evade maneuver on it. The echo mode is a high reach hit, bigger damage, and it can buff you faster. So pick the one which is best for you based on the play style or the monster matchup. The special evade on performance mode is really awesome, but after you hear about this next thing that you're going to unlock, the choice between these two modes is going to be a lot harder to make because that unlock makes echo mode look insane. All right, let's take a look at this. The second thing you unlock is a switch skill called Bead of Resonance. Bead of Resonance will replace your Earthshaker. So it gets rid of that really big damage move, replaces it with another crazy move. And it's a little complicated, so let's talk through it. I'm going to switch over to a horn that has Sonic Wave. All right, there we go. Now this horn is not upgraded as well as the last one, so the damage numbers will be smaller. Don't let that scare you away. So what Bead of Resonance does, this thing is going to stick an egg on the ground. And every time you play a melody, it's going to do sonic damage to the monster. When you place the egg, you'll get 3 hits if you're standing close enough to the monster. There it is. Egg, bead, I don't know what it is. I guess it's not technically an egg. Nothing's going to grow out of it. So I'm going to cue up a note and I'm going to perform, and you'll see the bead do some damage to the monster's head. Every time you perform a melody, that beat is going to do damage. So when you do a slide beat, it also performs a melody and the beat activates and does damage. If you are activating a sonic wave, the beat is going to hit the monster 3 times. That's the cool synergy that I'm talking about. So you get a horn with sonic wave, you activate that sonic wave, and the beat does triple the damage. And if you are constantly attacking and activating your sonic wave frequently, then you're going to see the damage that bead does builds up very significantly. And you can actually get as much damage from that bead as you could from the Earthshaker. That's if you're combining it with the sonic wave. So let's go to melody mode performance. I still got my sonic wave. Now remember, to activate in performance mode, you have to play 2 notes in a row. And this is also doing triple damage. You don't get triple damage from doing a performance because the performance here doesn't activate the sonic wave. So even though you can activate the triple hit from the bead in performance mode, it's faster to activate in echo mode. And when you do the echo performance, you're actually doing more damage with that move. So I think the bead is a lot more effective in general with echo mode. There's one more cool thing about Bead of Resonance that I need to talk about. A lot of horns will have an attack up buff. A lot of horns, like this one, don't have that. So if you have a horn that doesn't have attack up, you can use Bead of Resonance to get attack up. Look over there on the screen. You just got self-improvement, stamina recovery up, defense up. You did a sonic wave and attack up. Bead of Resonance gives every horn the attack up melody. So whenever you perform, free attack up for every single horn, even the ones who don't have it. Now, for the horns who do have attack up melody, Bead of Resonance will not stack with it. All it's going to do is activate the melody for you automatically without having to play any notes. So that might be another thing that sells you on the Bead of Resonance. The third unlock you get is called Melodic Slap. You're going to get this from a 4-star high-rank quest called Honing Your Hunting Horn. Now, Melodic Slap is going to replace your overhead smash. Melodic Slap is a 2-hit plus the sonic damage combo, and it's very close range. It's going to do more stun damage simply because it's multiple attacks. it takes a little more time to do. It will do less damage overall, and you notice the hits are kind of low. So there's not much different about it other than it does sonic damage and it's going to do a little bit more KO damage. So it just comes down to your playstyle preferences. There's nothing magical about melodic slap, just one more option. So a lot of people ask me, what weapon do I use? Which horn is the best? And there's only one answer to that. It depends. It depends on what melodies you want. That's what defines each hunting horn. Obviously, they're going to have different damage and affinity and different element, but the melodies are what you're really looking for. What melodies do you want to use? And there are tons of them. If you go here to Hunter's Notes, Weapon Controls, Melody Effects, every horn has self-improvement. Self-improvement makes you move around a little faster when your weapon's drawn. It gives you mind's eye, essentially. Your attacks won't bounce. Self-improvement honestly really shouldn't be here anymore. It's like, it seems redundant. If I were redoing horn, I wouldn't have self-improvement. I would just add these things to the weapon automatically. Everybody gets self-improvement all the time. It's like you don't have to think about activating it. You're going to activate it accidentally even. The thing about the self-improvement melody, this one does not apply to the other members of your party. All the horns are differentiated based on which other melodies they have. And so you pick the horn that has the melodies that you want to use in the game or for that particular quest. There are a lot of really cool melodies in here. If you want health recovery, get a horn with health recovery. If you don't want to have to take potions, get a horn with health recovery. If you get hit a lot, get a horn with health recovery. You'll be healing yourself while attacking the monster. If you are fighting a monster that blights you all the time and you're sick of it, you can get a horn with blight negated. There is a melody called Sonic Barrier, and that's pretty cool too. A lot of people like that one. There's your Infernal melody. That's not a melody that's on a horn. It's one that all horns have access to. Some of these, like Stamina Recovery Up, Stamina Use Reduced, these are not ones that you would pick for yourself because the horn does not use a lot of stamina. So these are ones you'd pick if you have bow users in your group or lance users or something like that and you want to do them a favor. So that one's largely going to be for your teammates. Got a nice antidote there. That one's cool. So you get a little health recovery and antidote. Divine Protection is kind of like Divine Blessing. Stun negated, earplugs, tremors negated, a lot of cool stuff. So what I like to do is I like to pick attack or attack and affinity. Defense is another nice one. Elemental attack boost is really good. For myself, I tend to focus on the ones that boost my damage. You pick the ones that you have the most fun with, and that's what's going to determine which horn that you're going to use. Good armor skills to have for hunting horn. Horn Maestro. This is really easy to get. It makes your melodies last longer. It just makes everything better. Don't play horn without Horn Maestro. It's really easy to get. There's a deco for it. No big deal. Attack up. You can see how many attacks there are for hunting horn and how many big attacks there are and how many attack buffs there are. Why not go even further? Boost your attack even higher with attack up on your armor set. Wirebug Whisper is nice, especially if you're using Earthshaker. This is going to give you faster Wirebug recovery time. That means more Earthshakers. Evade Window is nice. Whether you use in performance mode or echo mode, Evade Window is nice, especially if you're using echo mode because you don't have that special evade in echo mode. And so you're going to want your evade rolls to have more iframes on them. And then the standard crit boost, weakness exploit, critical eye. Affinity's great on horn. Weakness exploit is great, but your sonic damage ignores hit zones. So keep that in mind when you're creating your build. Where do I hit the monster? Almost every single attack that you do will do stun damage. So you want to make sure as many hits as possible are hitting the head. You can get so many KOs with hunting horn. It's ridiculous. Let's say you're not hitting the head. You want to hit other weak spots. Hitting the legs gets you trips. Those are always good too because they allow you direct access to the head. If you hit the monster somewhere other than the head, you're not going to do stun damage, but you will do stamina drain. So you will exhaust the monster. If you're doing these wild attacks like a Magnificent Trio or a Slide Beat or something where your horn's just all over the place and you're not always hitting the head, not a big deal. All those other hits will add up and drain this monster's stamina, get him tired, he'll just stand there drooling, then you can hit him wherever the hell you want. It's a win-win. It doesn't really matter where you hit the monster. As long as you're hitting a weak spot, you're going to get some huge benefit. All right, last thing you need to know about hunting horn, the single most important thing, in fact, learn the monsters. Learn what moves you can get away with in every different circumstance. Every weapon plays differently, and so with every weapon, you have to learn the monster all over again. You have to figure out what you can get away with at any single point in time. You have to figure out what attacks you can sneak in between the monster's attacks. You have to figure out what are good risks to take, which ones are going to have high payoffs. And the only way you can do that is get out there and hunt. So again, a lot of info in this tutorial, just like all my other ones. Don't want to overwhelm you, but all the big ideas are here. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need to. You can skip around. You don't have to watch it straight through, although I have designed it so that it works really well straight through. What I'd like you to do is leave a comment on the video with any tips you have for beginners. So if you're a veteran hunting horn user, tell me what's missing from this tutorial. Let everyone else know. And if you've got advanced tips, let us know about those too. And if you're just getting started out, ask whatever questions you need to, add in any cool stuff that you've discovered about the horn. And final thing, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Come on over to the Discord. We got hundreds of people over there waiting to play with you. So I'll see you on the Discord, and I'll see you in the next tutorial video.